Come with me.
Captain, may I come with you to Greek Town?
You know him?
I do. He was at the university on Beta Z when I was studying psychology there.
Oh, I see. He was a colleague of yours.
No, he was a patient.
Come in.
How are things in the land of the living?
I thought you might be lonely. No one sees you except Data.
Lonely? I can hear everything that everyone on this ship thinks. No one besides you seems to be missing my charm.
You want them to dislike you. Why?
Because I'm not a nice man. Because they scare me. Too many minds. I can't shut them out. Never could learn. All their loves, their hates, their fears, their needs. It's like a tide that never ebbs. I could drown.
I remember.
You understood, at least a little, how I felt. I say you finally found a place to fit in, people to care about.
And you're still looking.
$2,364. That's the year that our Star Trek Next Generation takes place in. That's about 325 years set into the future. Well, from today's perspective. I think when Star Trek Next Generation first took to the air was in 1988, I believe. So that was probably more about 240 some years into the future. Excuse me, 340 some years into the future. What up, guys? Total Control 871. And it has been brought to my attention that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I wanted to do my own particular PSA. What we just saw was an excerpt from the Star Trek Next Generation episode entitled Tin Man. Tam Elbrin, apparently betazoids who are hallmarked. Betazoids typically have, dark black hair and very dark, somber eyes, like our Deanna Troi. Of course, her mother, Luoxana, dark hair, dark, soulful, empathetic eyes. And of course, our genetic anomaly, Tam Elbrin, he is a very light-skinned ginger, like that. And it is later in that episode clarified that a betazoid's telepathic abilities don't really kick in until around adolescence. However, occasionally, a betazoid infant, excuse me, will be born with its telepathic abilities switched on, which is why Tam Elbrin was at the University of Beta Z as a patient receiving mental health treatment. What I really wanted to draw to your attention about that entire scene was the look on Jean-Luc Picard's face upon learning that the person he was about to bring aboard was a former psychiatric patient. Let's take one more look.
Mr. Data, come with me.
Captain, may I come with you to Greek Town?
You know him?
I do. He was at the university on Beta Z when I was studying psychology there.
Oh, I see. He was a colleague of yours.
No, he was a patient.
Right there. Look at that face. I hate to say it because God knows I absolutely love and adore my Star Trek. But if I am speaking truth, that's the face of discrimination. That is the face that many people with a history of psychological trauma or mental illness, and the two are indeed different, but that is the face that we get as we go about our lives. That is the face that we get when we go to do anything. Attend school, look for an apartment, gain employment. Where have you been for the past 2 or 3 years? I couldn't help but notice there's a gap in your resume. Under the care of a psychiatrist isn't really something that people want to talk about during their job interview or housing application. But nevertheless, that kind of discrimination is indeed what patients of mental illness and mental trauma survivors like myself have to deal with. I want to be clear. When I differentiate between mental illness and mental trauma, I don't see one as being more stigmatized than the other. I just simply want to make it known so that the correct course of action can be taken. If there is indeed an idiopathic illness that plagues you and causes you the mental duress, then so be it. But if you have a highly quantifiable cause of trauma, of psychological injury inflicted upon you, as is my case, then please, by all means, make it known so that that tyranny can be brought to an end. That tyranny can be arrested, not the person who's being made to suffer. Okay, yeah, also, mental health. There's a lot of talk in our news in regards to suicide. Suicide is definitely an extremely personal thing. And when I say personal, I'm not talking about shut up, don't, it's none of your business, don't. I mean, you can say it's none of your business. When I say it's very personal, I say that in the context of it being an extremely tailor-made situation directly to you. I don't think no two suicides are alike. And the problem that we're seeing is that I have speculated, has the glorification of death caused an uptick in your teen suicide rates? Because you have suicides, excuse me, in various different demographics. I'm looking around here for my halls. You have suicides in very different demographics that I can never find them when I need them. There they are. The last thing I want to do is belittle a teenage suicide. I know there's a lot of talk about our 13 Reasons Why. I've never watched a complete episode of it. I've seen bits and pieces on YouTube, and I've, I think Wikipedia, the plot synopsis scenario. if I understand it correctly, the suicide in that is done for revenge because your teenage object of your affection doesn't love you back. First of all, I fully acknowledge the tsunami of emotions that can come along with love. It is, after all, why I am 20 years celibate with no plans or intention of entering into the market again, of going on the singles market again. My tenure with love, I guess you could say I probably narrowly escaped with my life. Anyway, because I don't want you to think that I'm belittling teen suicide. I get where you're coming from. Although, in the nature of a PSA here, what I would say to the teenagers out there is that you are half-baked pastries. Okay, you are so half-baked. It is just so. And I say that. Do you understand what I mean? You're not done developing. I know there are many out there who believe they are very mature. I have met some mature teenagers, very mature teenagers. I could so go off into a side segue here when you hear about 30, 40-some-year-old married dude who absconds away with the 15-year-old. I have seen 15-year-olds masterfully manipulate grown men. That's a whole nother topic. But even you're half-baked and you just don't know it. The simple fact that time, the space-time continuum itself, you're not emotionally paralyzed. Everybody is growing and changing. It's why you have a certain percentage of marriages that fail. We've grown apart, we've grown away. It doesn't necessarily mean that you married the wrong person at that moment in time. That was somebody, but because people change. At that moment in time, that was the right person for you, but both of you are changing. So, the person that you have the razor blade to your wrist or the pills in your hand, and just know that who you're about to kill yourself, that person might not even exist in the next couple of years, meaning because they changed so much. Anyway, you have different demographics, and of course you have, speaking of our middle-aged men, so we talked about our teenagers, and let's talk about our middle-aged men. Vets, I am not even going to go there. I fully acknowledge that all of you guys have seen some serious shit. You've seen serious shit. The government has done serious shit to you. Got a co-worker. He's a Marine. One of the things he said in boot camp was that all the recruits, it's like this, I don't know if he said it was a multi-prong syringe that goes into your ass. All I know is that they shot his ass up with, all of them, shot all their asses up with so much whatever. You can't even say it's a vaccine. You really have no fucking idea what it is they're injecting into your ass. But whatever it is, if it isn't dispersed, you're forced to sit Indian style on the floor, lock arms, and rock your ass cheek Otherwise, whatever was they injected into you, it will pool and cause a type of paralysis, because you know you got your whole sciatic nerve there in your ass cheek and shit. So, like I say, the vets, I'm not even going to begin to speculate, or should I say, I'm not going to lecture the vets on how they should feel. I'm not lecturing anybody, but I'm not even going to. I'm not going to go there, man, because I have no idea. So I don't want to go outside of my lane. You know, I have been heartbroken, so that's kind of why I talk to our teeny boppers. You know, I have been heartbroken, but that's Godspeed, man. Talking now, check my time here. Middle-aged men. And women. But then again, I'm not a woman, so I like to stay as far into my wheelhouse as I possibly can. I don't like to go outside of my lane. I am a middle-aged man. We are the ones who have had the epiphany in life. You know, it gets better. My early 20s, shit jobs, multiple unlawful terminations, zero vindication, zero legal recourse because you're so poor. I have no idea if it's somewhere. A couple years ago, I did a video where I'm like shredding papers of old cases where I wanted to bring action against employers, where I was fired from one security job for being overweight. I didn't have to, mind you, I'm not a cop. I don't have to physically engage anybody. Security officers are observe and report. You know, I can do that job. But anyway, so I'm terminated for being overweight. And, you know, it's like $300 just to have them served. Just like I couldn't afford the transcripts in the lane control saga. I could no longer. I couldn't. Justice belongs to the wealthy, or even the middle class. You know, people who can afford these things. I cannot. We middle-aged men, we're at the period in our lives where we've seen it's all bullshit. What you've been told is bullshit. Political parties, all of them are bullshit. We've just seen through the bullshit. Harkening back to our relationships and stuff like that. Who was it? I forgot exactly who. I think I may have been talking to a cyclist online. All I know is that I started to hear this terminology as I approached 30, where I would hear these older couples in their 40s and 50s start to say things like, I'm not looking for games, you know. I didn't quite understand what they meant by then. I would definitely come to understand it. When you're in your young 20s, man, your teens and your 20s, you can play all the little games that people tend to play. Mickey Howard, love on the new management. All the little games that people tend to play, you know, when you get to be a certain age, you don't have time to play fucking games anymore. This is who I am. Either you like that or you don't. Yeah, so used to have a roommate. Long story. And he was quite the ladies' man. Oh boy, was he. And one of the things I asked him one day, I was like, you know, it's like, how do you make that? How do you go forward? It's like, how do you say to her that you're interested in like a sexual relationship? And in other words, Scrubs, I wasn't a big fan of the sitcom show. Again, one of those first responder shows. I told you, there's always a market for them. The medical shows and cop shows and firefighter shows. But anyway, what was I think it was like one of the, if it wasn't the first episode or a couple of whatever. He is the white guy and there's the white chick, and he doesn't want to fall into the category of we're just friends, and he's fighting this. It's like they got like a 48-hour period of whatever it is, or whatever the time period was, before a girl will relegate a guy in orbit around her as either a prospective sexual mate or just a friend. And basically that was my question to my my roommate buddy. How in the world do you make that transition between, you know, just a friend to sexual suitor, basically? And he gave a very forthright answer. He just simply said, you know, he lets them know immediately, straight out the gate, that he is he's looking for more than friendship. He also went on to talk about, I think it was one of his relatives, I think. It's a very crude story. I definitely don't recommend it, but apparently this relative of his, in single bars or whatever, will go around the oh my God, I can't believe I'm about to say this, will go around to women and say to them, can I stick my finger in your ass? That's a horrible thing. Got slapped a lot, got a lot of drinks thrown in his face, but the overall point was that, because my roommate was telling the story to me because he recognized that I was having insecurity issues, you know, finding like a boyfriend or something. And he was just trying to, the moral of that story was, if his relative said that to 10 women, 9 will slap him, but there will be 1 that will be like, okay, you know, there will be the 1 woman that will be down with it, and he will have found his freak. So, and of course, the even bigger overall point is that there wasn't a bunch of fucking time wasted with each of those 10 women playing games, trying to, you know, I spent a lot of time being Michael from Queer as Folk, chasing after my Brian. I wasted a lot of time being Chloe Sullivan from Smallville, chasing after my Clark Kent. So, here I am in my late 40s, definitely, although I'm not in the market anymore, but were I to ever take such a notion to re-enter the singles market, definitely, the games are over. So I would definitely say to people, then again, you know, with fucking Me Too making, you know, flirtatious conversations so fucking toxic. Ooh, and then there's toxic masculinity, and then there's, oh God almighty, what time have I got here? 24. Oh my God. Mental health. The stigma that comes along with it. I'm going to shift gears now. We hear a lot about Second Amendment. You could catch a nasty stigma. You could be stripped of your civil rights. You could lose a lot. Not just simply your right to bear arms. In our McDonald video, oh my God, there's no shortage of private owned business. They've got the right to refuse. And of course, I think it was on the PBS NewsHour. Religious exemption that Trump is pushing through Congress, fast-tracking the right for hospitals. And it was so ironic because That's exactly what I was saying to everybody in that McDonald video that was touting private business. They can do whatever they want. And I kept telling them ambulances and doctor offices are privately owned business. Careful what the fuck you say and what the fuck you wish for, okay? The genie will give you exactly what you ask for. So, and that's exactly what's unfolding. So, you're gonna have all this religious. Oh my God, religion. Do you know you can make the Bible or whatever religious text? It doesn't have to be the Bible. If it's a religious exemption, then it's a religious exemption. There is a religion out there called the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. They wear pasta strainers on their head when they have their driver's license taken. I am not making this up. So basically, your religious exemption could facilitate discrimination for just about anything. There is passage in the Bible that speaks of dark-skinned people being a person of evil. So you could make the Bible say anything you want to discriminate against black people, darker-skinned people, gay people. Oh my God. So, gunshot victims coming in, live by sword, die by sword. Excuse me, I don't want to treat this. I don't want to treat this not only criminal. What if it's the cop that shot? They are living by the sword, do they not? They have weapons. Their weapons are part of their job. I'm sorry, I can't treat this police officer. Live by sword, die by sword. It's in the Bible. I'm religious exempt. And there you are. You just simply lay there and fucking die. Time we got here, 27. The stigma that comes along with being associated with mental illness. One of the hallmark questions that mental health providers will ask you is the medicine. They want to know if your brain has, if its pharmaceutical virginity has been lost. If you've ever had medication, if you've ever consumed any of these head pills that allegedly work so well. But of course, what's so ironic is that for a lot of jobs, especially in governmental jobs, FBI, CIA, if you have been ever in your life, ever at any given moment, been a consumer of these head pills, you are immediately disqualified. Not necessarily for the depression. The way they see it, everybody gets depressed, but not everybody takes the pills. And of course, they'll never admit it. Big pharmacy will never admit it. But the pills do a lot of damage. A lot of the mass shootings, and not just mass shootings, but a lot of violence, period, where the person has a history, mental illness. There's also a history of consuming big pharmacies, head pills. Chicken of the egg, what caused what? Was it the mental illness or trauma that caused them to do the violence, or did the medication compromise their brain? You know, so meaning had they have never taken pills, would they have been able to hold it together and not commit the violence? Or now that they took the pills, they compromised themselves? All right, that's it. 29. Suicide. My criteria for suicide is simple. Is your problem chronic and persisting? Yes or no? Although a lot of social problems do get better with time, it is true they do get better with time, but will it get better within your life frame, within your lifespan? You have to take very analytical, critical thinking approach to this. Either it will or it won't. In my particular case, I would have to be abducted and sexually assaulted multiple times for refusing to pay ransom notes. I refuse to live with that. Therefore, my suicide is being forced. It's not that I want to. I want to live my life. I've got a home within within grasp, and it's all being taken away from police tyranny. All right, guys, that's it. Total Control 871. Remove the stigma of mental health.